Conscious Collaboration brings together entrepreneurs, changemakers, and thought leaders. We aim to highlight the people that embody the idea of aligned mind, body, and business. Each week, we share, discuss, and learn from the various experiences and ideas of our guest experts. Through our discovery, we find a path to an aligned mind, body, and business.
At the Conscious Collaboration Podcast, we are proud affiliates of Atapa medical-grade red light therapy devices. Red light therapy boasts a long list of clinically proven benefits, many that I and many of my clients have experienced firsthand. You can be sure that you'll be able to train harder, recover faster, and sleep better with Atapa red light therapy. Visit myatapa.com, myatapa.com, or use the link in our Instagram bio to shop with the code COLLAB15, that's COLLAB 15, for a discount on your device. What up, guys? It's Emily
and Lisa
and Michelle, and we are the Conscious Collaboration. Take number 25.
We've done it a few times.
We have, and it just kind of goes along with the vibe this week.
It does, but we're going to make it happen.
We are. We're
going to people.
For the people. It has been a pretty busy week this week. I don't know about you ladies, but coming off of a long weekend usually gives me jet lag for like 2 more weeks.
I mean, really,
and it's only Tuesday for reference.
But it's a great segue into our topic today. So today we're going to talk about 4 things to optimize health and fitness results. I think this is a really great topic, and it goes with the whole mind-body business too, because the things we don't prioritize in our life that are important will trickle over to other things in areas of our lives, which we've talked about before. So I know for me personally, I usually go from one extreme to the other. I'm still trying to find that gray area, which I think Emily is going to be able to help us with that today. But I can go from doing way too many of trying to do all the things. And, with social media and all the shiny object syndromes coming at you. Oh, I need to do this diet, or I need to do this workout, and overdoing it. Or I can go the other direction and just do nothing and not prioritize my time correctly and go down that rabbit hole. So what about you, Lisa?
Yeah, if there's no system in place, it really becomes an unraveling effect of all the parts of my day. So if I don't have that system in place and those go-tos, it really feels like it impacts all the areas of my life. And Emily's just really been my go-to and my guru as far as finding that harmony and balance, because it really can be overwhelming, and without someone to guide you through it, you can really go down the wrong path.
It's like feng shui version of working out.
Ooh, I like
let
that.
The energy flow a little better. Yeah. I like that. Well, I think a couple of things. Just as a society, I think we have a tendency to overcomplicate everything.
Amen, sister.
Yeah, we think in terms of achieving certain health and fitness goals that we need to do the most, complex methods. And on top of that, there is just information overload, especially with the advent of the internet and social media. There's just tons and tons out there, and not a lot of it is even good information. A lot of it is incomplete or just completely bogus altogether. So I think it is useful to try to sift through all that information so that we are not left either so overwhelmed that we just don't do anything towards our health and fitness, or, we are impatient and we're bouncing around from program to program or diet to diet, trend to trend. And, doing it that way, you're just not going to see or feel the results that you're looking for.
I believe they call that analysis paralysis, which I am definitely guilty of.
For sure. In lots of aspects of life, but we can certainly improve that overload a little bit in terms of our health and fitness. We have to. It's vital. So what I've done is come up with just four things to prioritize in your life in order to optimize your health and fitness results. And I want to point out that health and fitness are two different concepts, but to me, they are inseparable. I think without some intention towards your physical fitness, that you are doing a disservice to your overall health, and vice versa. So I think if we can focus on these four things, they will make the biggest impact, sort of the biggest bang for your buck on your health and fitness results. So the number one thing to optimize your health and fitness results is a concept, a pillar really within my Iron Yogi Fitness company. And that is called your daily non-negotiables. And these are three things actually lumped into one. Very simple, they're free, and that is breathe, ground, and get sunlight. I literally put these in my client's app as a daily checkoff. You know, we kind of strategize sometimes, and people will figure out ways to combine all three practices into one, 10 or 20 minute session, but I'll break down each element just a little bit. So breathing, for obvious reasons. Most of us go throughout our day and we're breathing too shallowly, which can cause a lot of issues, both physically in our posture, even. And then, if we're only taking these shallow little breaths, we actually end up over time putting ourselves into almost a survival mode where our body is actually only sending the oxygen to our vital organs. And as you can imagine, that causes all kinds of problems. So we practice a yoga pranayama or breath work called Nadi Shodhana, which is alternate nostril breathing, but it's not necessary to have any kind of fancy breath work practice. All that could entail is just a couple of minutes of intentional and deep breathing. So the second element, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that I've noticed before that a lot of times I hold my breath throughout the day without realizing, especially when I'm concentrating. I'm like, oh, I need to breathe.
Right.
Right.
It's automatic. It's literally automatic. So we don't even think about it.
Yeah, I was just thinking, Emily, how many times am I working out with you and you're breathing for me?
Yeah.
Because I'm so quiet.
It's
It's just, I don't know why. I feel like maybe it's the feng shui in me, but sometimes it's just like everything I do is so subtle, even breathing. Yeah.
You're a silent worker-outer.
Worker-outer.
in contrast to my workout style. The
Loud
one woman
grunting.
NFL locker room. So yes, breathing, just a couple of minutes of intentional breathing every day. And you can certainly combine it with the other two elements. The second element of the daily non-negotiables is grounding, or earthing, as some people call it. There's actually a really great documentary on YouTube. I think it's called Earthing, or the science of earthing, something like that. But that is simply putting your bare feet on the ground, connecting with the earth. It's kind of like recharging our own energetic battery, getting all those good negative ions. It's been shown to be really good for wound healing and anti-inflammation. So, and we just, as mammals, as humans, we are intended to touch nature on a regular basis. So put your bare feet to the ground, no synthetic materials in between you and the earth. And that is your grounding. And you can pretty easily generally combine that with the last element, which is getting sunlight. Now, I obviously want to point out that this doesn't mean to stare directly into the sun, nor does it mean to go out and be unreasonable and burn yourself, fry yourself. However, there are many, many bodily processes, things to do with your vital signs, your sleep, your hunger, the way your body protects itself from the sun, that have to do with those cues that we get by exposing ourselves, our eyes, and as much skin as appropriate to sunlight. That first light of the day is a particularly good time to do that. So one way that I know that some people combine these 3 non-negotiables is to like go outside barefoot in the backyard, do a little breathing, and have your morning coffee, 10, 20 minutes, and boom, you've knocked them all out. I like to go on a walk and pause at one of the beautiful parks within walking distance of me and take my shoes off and stand there and breathe for a minute. But there's a multitude of different ways that you could work that into your schedule. So that is number 1 of the 4 things to prioritize. Number 2 is prioritizing resistance training or strength training, weight training. And this, of course, is getting a little more into the aesthetic and physique aspects of your fitness goals. However, what I've found is that focusing on strength related goals, performance related goals within your resistance training actually yields the best results as far as physique goes.
But Emily, isn't strength training going to make me look bulky as a woman?
I'm so glad you asked that, Michelle. The answer is hell no. I wish we could just squash this
concept
misconception for good. I was certainly a believer of it for most of my life until I turned 35 years old, and I'm 38 now. And, I've been through all sorts of different body types in my own body, and the sort of least comfortable being my postpartum body, which was 60 pounds heavier than I had ever been. And so I definitely felt firsthand, sort of all the other methods, just doing a ton of HIIT and cardio and trying to restrict my food. And I felt what that did for my physique. And then when I found strength training, I was like, oh, okay, this is so much better. Now, there are some little caveats to how this works and to optimize the way your resistance training works for you. Basically, your goal in all this is to build muscle and focus on strength gains. And 2 things that are important within that paradigm to pay attention to are, 1, that you're on a structured program. All right, that we're not just hopping around from Instagram workout to Instagram workout, because it requires a structured program in order to apply a concept called progressive overload, which just means doing more over time. But it's a guaranteed way to be able to monitor your progress, monitor your strength progression, and the physique results will inevitably follow.
Emily, what if there's listeners out there that really want to follow these 4 tips, are really digging this, but they only have 20 minutes or so to be in a gym, or 30 minutes? Can you give like the top couple of things that they could, do that they'll get the most bang for their buck? I'm assuming one of them is going to include the glutes, working those muscles.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you would want, a full body regimen within whatever time you have to budget to your strength training. And, I program people for as little as 2 days on up to 6 days for all different, time limitations within the actual workouts. So, there's certainly ways to do it without getting too deep into programming. I would focus on probably the 6 main movement patterns that cover all the major muscle groups that are the focus of a strong lifting practice. And, programming will get more individualized from there. But you want a full body regimen, you want a structured program, and you want something that's designed for your time budget, and that's all completely doable.
So would that be like a squat, maybe some type of
upper so
body
the 6
pull-up?
Movement patterns from strong lifting are hip thrust, squat, and deadlift. And those, of course, can be, regressed to any version of that movement pattern that suits the client. And then the upper body movements are chin up, bench press, and an overhead shoulder press.
Which all that can be modified to start.
All
out.
of it can be modified. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
There's down to, body weight versions of everything. Yep. So the number 3 thing to prioritize in order to optimize your health and fitness results is your protein. And that comes with eating enough for your goals. So protein is one of the 3 macronutrients: protein, fat, and carbohydrates. And I would assume that most people that I encounter when we start talking are not getting nearly enough protein. Our sort of recommended daily allowance is like the minimum amount that we should be getting to be a healthy human. And most experts are in agreement these days that really the optimal amount of protein is somewhere between 0.8 and 1 gram per pound of body weight. So, and without worrying too much about macros and tracking your macros and tracking your calories and tracking your protein, you could narrow that down to just making sure that you have a good protein source every time that you put food in your mouth, whether it's a snack or a meal. Every time you put food in your mouth, make sure you have a good protein source. Sometimes you have to get a little more creative if you're eating vegan or vegetarian, but it can certainly be done. And then, like I said, to go along with that, you want to make sure that you're eating enough for your goals. A lot of people kind of get into this chronic restriction state, which in essence downregulates our metabolism and makes it harder and harder for us to build the muscle and burn the fat, which is ultimately kind of the 2 things that go into achieving physique results that most of us want to see. So
I think a lot of people, like you said, undereat. I'm one of those that I didn't realize how much I was undereating. And the increasing actually helps with, the weight loss. Also, isn't it true that adding protein to another macronutrient actually changes the way it reacts in your body for the better? I think, doesn't it help it break down and can help offset?
Yeah, sure.
things?
And you also consider something called the thermic effect of food, which is like how much energy your body expends to digest that food. And protein has the highest thermic effect of all the macronutrients. So there's that. It's nice and satiating. So when you make sure that your protein is intact, a lot of the other nutritional elements tend to just fall into place without you trying. You tend to not overeat on the other macronutrients as much because you're already satisfied, because you're getting enough protein. And of course, it's the building blocks for muscle. It's essential for not only building muscle, but all tissue repair. So healing of wounds, it's really important. And I think it's delicious too. So yeah, you got to fuel your training properly, and you got to get that protein to really get the results that you want to see. So don't be afraid to eat. Don't be afraid to fuel your workouts. Don't be afraid to get that protein in.
What is the biggest mistake, Emily, that you see with protein choices?
Well, I can give you an example of what I was doing before I learned all this information. And that is that I would eat a lot of nut butters and seed butters, sunflower butter in particular, because there is some protein in it, but it's really not the greatest sort of source of protein. There's not a whole lot. It's really more of a fat source. It's a good fat, and we do need good fats. However, if you're using a fat source as a protein source, what ends up happening is that you get hundreds or thousands of extra sort of unnecessary calories in without actually getting your protein out of it. So I see that a lot. Or people just, not really understanding what a good source of protein is, which, your meats, eggs, fish. I personally choose to stay away from dairy because I don't like the way it makes my body feel. But, whey protein is a good source of protein if you're tolerable to that. And then, like I said, there are ways around this as a vegan or a vegetarian. You just have to get a little more creative and pay even more attention. So the last thing, number 4, to prioritize to optimize your health and fitness results is rest and recovery. So this is simply getting enough sleep. This can vary from person to person. Most people land on like a 7 to 8 hour window. Some people require a little less. Some people require a little more. Figure out what your optimal amount is and make sure you get it. And as far as workouts go, make sure you're taking rest days every single week. There is some variance in between how many days per week is appropriate for a person to work out, depending on, soreness and your schedule and everything else. But everyone should be taking at least 1 to 2 rest days every single week. You got to give, those muscles time to rebuild. You got to give those tissues time to recover. And, if you are burning the candle at both ends and not taking your rest days, you'll definitely end up being counterproductive to your health and fitness goals.
And Emily, you use the Atapa red light therapy a lot in rest and recovery. Yeah,
I do. I
don't think I see you without it ever.
I have it on right now.
She has a travel one too.
Yeah, I use it every morning and every evening. I try not to get too fancy with my sort of required recovery side practices, but my Atapa red light is definitely also a non-negotiable in my recovery regimen. I also think that cold showers and fascia-based movement have a lot to do with my ability to recover well and work out the 5 to 6 days a week that I generally work out.
Also, back to the sleep thing. I mean, that sleep is everything. And I swear everywhere I go in regards to health, the first question is, how are you sleeping? You go to the grocery store. How are you sleeping?
Yeah.
You go to the dentist, but how are you sleeping? Like, it's like the topic because it's so important.
And it's so easy to kind of brush to the side and forget as a factor when we're in any given thing, when we're kind of trying to figure out why we're hitting blocks or whatever. It's kind of easy to forget about that, especially when we're in this like, oh, I need to be as productive as humanly possible all the time mode. And I mean, I was the worst person previously about being like, oh, sleep when I die. Like, stupid. So stupid. I mean, I think we all had at least some phase of that in our life. But I mean, for example, Sunday, 2 days ago, I went to a lovely, amazing daytime brunch party, but I was up quite a bit later than usual. The quality of sleep with the amount of alcohol consumed was probably not that great. And, when I went to kind of evaluate the next day, whether I was even going to attempt a workout, I was like, you know what? This is a recipe for disaster. This is how I hurt myself. And I made the executive decision to take an unplanned rest day because at that point it was way more beneficial to my progress and to my results than it would have been to just try to power through that workout. You probably have to come peel me off the concrete floor here.
So what I hear you saying is alcohol is not part of the top 4.
I mean, listen, I'm from Louisiana. We like to celebrate things from time to time, but certainly if you're going to have a conscious indulgence, I kind of like to call that, you just, plan for it appropriately in your workouts. And, you might have to take an extra rest day. So you can see how time after time after time, weekend after weekend of excessive alcohol consumption would definitely
that'll
be
add
a problem
up for sure
to achieve it. Not to mention the excess calories, the liquid calories, right? So that would definitely be a block to optimizing your health and fitness, but a little bit every once in a while.
Any other things to add while we wrap up this?
Yeah. So I just came up with a little bonus list that we're not going to, go into each one in depth. But if you get those 4 main things down, you can kind of examine these next. And those are hydration, right? Getting water. I prefer spring water to get all those great minerals in your system. Walking a lot, walking everywhere, taking that farther away parking spot, taking the stairs, etc. Rather than having to just run yourself ragged in a pile of sweat and drool, trying to get in a bunch of HIIT workouts every week and burn off everything that you eat. If you just mindfully walk a lot, you'll achieve a lot more towards your health and fitness goals. And it's an opportunity to connect with nature if you're fortunate enough to live in a place like we do, where you can get outside a lot. So walking a lot.
Or maybe take a vacation to California and walk 13 miles.
Oh, yeah, you could do that. You could walk a half marathon 2 days before a weightlifting competition.
We actually did that.
I don't necessarily recommend that, but we did that.
I think it's wedges too. It's not advised to wear wedges.
Yes, wedges are not
Michelle's
advised.
shoes were not the move. Yeah.
We had to buy flip-flops, but it was a little too late.
Yeah. The Walgreens flip-flops too, or CVS. They were like
I still have those
flip-flops. Yeah. Those will probably last you forever. Those will probably last you longer than any other shoes.
They're probably the best I've ever had.
Yeah. Oh, that's how it goes. So the next thing on that little mini list is meditate. Have a meditation practice. Your meditation does not have to look like the next person or the next person. Again, just like the breath work, it can kind of just be a few minutes where you are intentionally quieting the mind, sitting in quiet, just allowing, your intuition to sort of take over. Or you can also look up there's a bunch of great ones on YouTube, a lot of free resources there for meditation. And the last one is learning fascia-based movements, which you can do through the Iron Yogi Fitness programming. But there's just some basic movements there that can counter a lot of the over-patterned movements that we do as modern humans that can contribute to movement issues and pain. So,
and as you're saying that, the listeners can't see, but Lisa and I are sitting here.
Are we both doing it?
Stretching our necks?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Realizing
grossly oversimplified. It's a lot of activation of the posterior chain, so the back of the body, and opening up along the front of the body, which turns out to be kind of the opposite of a lot of stretching regimens out there. So just learning a little bit about that can do wonders for the way your body moves and feels. So I'm just going to recap the 4 things to prioritize to optimize your health and fitness results. And I'll recap the little bonus list as well. So number 1, your daily non-negotiables: breathe, ground, and get sunlight. Number 2, prioritize resistance training, strength training, utilizing a structured program and progressive overload, doing more over time. Number 3, get your protein, eat adequate protein, and eat enough food for your training goals. Number 4 is rest and recovery. Get your sleep and take your rest aid. And to recap our bonus list: hydration, preferably spring water, walk a lot, start a meditation practice, and learn some fascia-based movement.
Woohoo! Bam, bam, bam.
Yes.
Well, this has been awesome. As always, it's always a pleasure to talk with you ladies and go over these great topics and tips.
I really hope that helps to simplify things for people and gives them a starting point to what to really, really focus on in order to achieve those results and stop kind of spinning on the hamster wheel.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, get off that wheel.
Get off the wheel.
I like things that are listed. Putting them in 4s and 3s is really a great way to really break down all the weeds that are in your brain from going through all the social media and So thank you so much for boiling it down to something that's easy and actionable. And I look forward to it every week working out with you. But I think it's great that we're making it accessible to everyone out there listening with us.
Yeah. So I would love to hear any feedback from the listeners if they've already applied any of these methods or what happens when you start to and you haven't been.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, ladies. Well, have a great week. And I think that wraps it up. So talk to you guys in 5 minutes.
Talk to you in
Talk to you in 5.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank y'all so much for listening to our podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends so they can join our circle of collaboration on this journey. You can find us on Instagram at Conscious Collaboration Podcast, on Spotify, iTunes, and Audible, to name a few. Please join us next time for another deep dive into how you can live life in more alignment, mind, body, and business. Send us your questions and comments in our DMs or email us at consciouscollaborationpodcast@gmail.com. See you in 5 minutes.